Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 5 of the Rebuttal. I am your host, Robby A Shaw, and this week I have the pleasure of having my brother, Chris Shaw, here to talk about the Eagles and Steelers, which will be taking place this Sunday in Pittsburgh. I did have some Eagles fans lined up, but they were unable to make it. But hey, it's always fun to sit down and talk to my brother about some sports. We don't do it as often as we like, but today is that day. Chris, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
I shouldn't even be on here. It's low-key sacrilege because I'm a Giants fan.
Yeah.
But after I've cried for many weeks because of how terrible we are, and then Saquon went down, and then it just, so I had to talk myself off the quarantine ledge many times before I was able to. It's okay. There's next year because it's not going to be this year at all. So.
But hey, it's true. The Eagles are in your division, so you guys do play them twice a year. You guys are familiar with them. So I mean, if you can't get an actual Eagles fan, why not get a Giants fan who, at least peripherally, is watching
we
that
can
team.
Advocate for the state next door.
Yes.
Cool.
So usually at this point in the show, I would do a recap of last week. But as we all know, last week the Steelers had a bye week imposed on them. I was going to say imposed by the NFL, but I decided to change that and say it was imposed on us by the Tennessee Titans. Prayers and thoughts going out to those Tennessee Titans. Hopefully they'll learn the lesson, and whatever they're not doing now, they'll do it.
They got to, for their own safety, they got to relax.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to watch football, but what do you do when the football players are not really, doing what they're supposed to do? And I mean, you got to applaud the NBA for that. The NBA did what they need to do. I want them, whoever it is that's sick, I hope they get to actually recover and to actually be able to get back to normal life and stuff like that. And then for the people who may be listening to this that don't realize that COVID is real, you should probably think about, just keeping your mask on and staying safe as much as you can.
I know the Eagles played last week and played the 49ers. I do know the final score was 20-25, and honestly, I didn't really care to even watch the highlights. Anyway, if you could touch on the 49ers game last week, that would be awesome because I have no idea other than the end score.
Yeah, I mean, typically you would call it the 49ers game because they're usually the one winning. But in this case, that wasn't the case. It was an upset. But it was really only an upset because the defense showed up. And, Carson did show up for a spell. But in terms of, their stats, I mean, I'm not going to really go into specifics. I do know they had 3 turnovers, 15, I think almost 20 hits on the quarterback. So, they were really getting to the backfield, which, I think after losing to the Bengals, I don't care what anybody says, a tie is a loss. So some type of fire should be lit in you that, hey, we are the Philadelphia Eagles. We should really take pride in what we're doing. There's no excuses. I think 25-20 is a good score. It doesn't say that they whooped them, but it does say that they won. Yeah. I do think seeing Carson Wentz kind of dance in the backfield, dodge some tackles, do his thing, is great. But kind of here where I want to say he had the highest QB rating he's had all season, which is 81.4. I think that he just is wanting now to maybe turn the corner. The problem with that is while they won that game last week, Carson is way down in the completions. He is somewhere around, and I mean, this is not good company, so I'll pull the stat up, but he's keeping the wrong kind of company. Mitch Trubisky, who is benched as of right now, pass completions was at 46%. Dwayne Haskins, they just benched him. He's at 50. He was at 50.4. And Carson is trending at 42.8%. So he is lower than 2 quarterbacks right now who are not actually as good as him, in my estimation. And we've seen how good Carson Wentz can be. But we are talking about a team that's got a hobbled starting lineup. And 3 of those injuries that they have are on the offensive line. So I mean, you got to give it to Carson for still trying to maintain and help them get their first win, with all the deck basically stacked against him. But yeah, I mean, it was a good game, and I would say that they still have potential to improve, obviously. But let them get their starters back, Al Shaw and Deshaun included, and I feel like we'll see a different Eagles team. Hopefully in this next week.
I haven't had a chance to see who's still playing this week for the Eagles, who's injured or whatever. But I didn't even know that Deshaun and Alshon were out. So I know is a big deal. And Deshaun, I'm looking at the injury report. Deshaun is still out for this game against. Maybe that's good news. Maybe Alshon is going to come back. That's one of the things that, in the league. It's we don't get the luxury. No team gets the luxury of saying, "I'm going to play you when you have all your players." The schedule is set, and you play them when you play them. And sometimes you just get a little bit of luck where you play a team that doesn't have all their pieces, and you go in and beat them. And then you face other times you are the one that doesn't have all your pieces, and you go in and you might lose that game. But I know the Steelers haven't had injuries other than the normal bumps and bruises, as Mike Tomlin usually says. Shows. And so we're in a really good place as far as injuries go. And one thing that's really kind of funny is that after Cincinnati and Philadelphia tied, they both won last week. So it's really one of those things where any given Sunday, if your team shows up, you can win. And that's one of the great things about football. So I'm really excited about this game because I did read a few articles this week that said that the Steelers were really upset that they ended up having a bye after they prepped halfway through the week and then found out Thursday. So that offensive line of the Eagles may have to do some amazing work. We still have Bud Dupree. We still have T.J. Watt. We still have that defensive line. And it's so crazy because we didn't play last week. We're still ranked 3rd in sacks, which you have to really sit and say, how is that possible when all the other teams other than the Titans had an extra week ahead of you? And we're ranked 3rd.
That doesn't make any sense.
We went down to 3rd behind Tampa Bay.
Imagine if y'all had played last
Imagine if we were averaging 5 sacks a game. So for me, I'm like, we should have 20 right now. And anything, I'm expecting 4 or 5 sacks this game against the Eagles because
I don't know about 4 or 5. I mean, we probably could. I mean, we could safely say around 15 to 20. The Eagles struggled to put up 25 points on the 49ers, and the 49ers are not as good defensively as you guys are.
Right.
So, I think. Personally, I mean, I want to be like, woo, let's go Eagles. Let's see if y'all can pull one out for the division. I mean, I think they're going to take a massive L this week, unless they have some miracle plays. Maybe the refs help them out a little bit. It's kind of like the way that the NBA Finals have been going. You really do need every player on the other side to put in their absolute best effort, or it's a L. It's not gonna happen.
When I said it last week, our passing stats, were middle of the road at best. But what's been carrying us all season long is that defense. So just looking at the stats as far as sacks, it's really a good look. But if you were to take that a step further and look at the standpoint of all the intangibles that we don't see, this defense is really, really good.
Yeah.
And we have Carson Wentz this week, who, like you said, his completions aren't the best, but
he can get back there and dance.
He can. Carson Wentz can, and he doesn't mind throwing his body. He doesn't mind diving for those extra yards. He has that whole Elway mentality, like whatever it takes to win. Carson Wentz is going to do it. Carson Wentz has gotten injured diving for a touchdown against the Rams a few years ago. He still can do that. He still has that element, so you never want to go in and say, you know what, this guy is only one-dimensional when you have a player that doesn't mind pulling it down and running for it. So we definitely, as a Steelers team, we have to be ready for that. We've done a good job this year of actually preparing for the teams we're playing and not playing down to them. A lot of the teams have jumped out early on us, which has led to a little bit of annoyance for me. But once we go in at halftime and we're actually making adjustments, which is something I've complained about for years as a Steelers fan, that they don't.
Man.
But now they are. And so I feel really good about this game. So that being said, we get to the part of the show that I love the most, where we talk about who we think is going to win and why. After that, we'll talk about what we think the final score is going to be.
So I'm looking for a few things. If
Sure.
Alshon Jeffries is playing, that does give them a better chance to win.
Mm-hmm.
But we talk about 3 starters on the offensive line not being there. Carson Wentz is going to have to laser the ball out in less than 3 seconds, or else he's going to be faced with a whole lot of hands in his face or hands all over his body. So that's a problem if you can't get the ball out, and their running game is lackluster. So he is the only option when it comes to making the right decision, because there isn't really much else for them to do. I mean, you gotta work with what you have. It's like when you're when you're coming up in elementary school or whatever, and you finally get to play against the big kids, and the big kids destroy you. I mean, it's just that's how it looks right now. It didn't historically, but when you got a bunch of hobbled people out there, you're essentially playing against rookies and JVs and people who have maybe not adequately prepared for the season. As a professional, you got to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. But that apparently doesn't apply to this particular team right now, because these guys are looking like they're still waking up from like a quarantine nap. So I'm waiting for them to actually show some semblance of a team that maybe feels like, we got knocked down, but we can get up again. And I don't think that this game is going to be the we get up again game. I think it's going to be sort of like a pendulum swing. We get one, we lose one, and then maybe we get the next game. But, it's kind of like that. I always go back to basketball. Like the teams you're supposed to beat, you're supposed to beat them. And as much as I want to be like, Eagles can pull off the upset if they do this, and that. I think that Mike Tomlin has really got y'all focused. I think that's the biggest thing. And if you can capture a athlete's attention and get them psychologically in the right place, it's really hard to beat them, even if they're down on the scoreboard. So, I mean, as many times, I know you said the stat was like 49-23 or something in terms of wins.
Yeah,
historically.
I think historically,
it's going to be like number 24 on y'all end. I'm just going.
And I agree with you too. Like I would normally, because I think the last time we played them, we lost to them, and I'm not 100% sure. It could have been 3 or 4 years ago. But but a lot of those players, I think Carson Wentz was still there, Ben was still there. A lot of the major players were still probably there 3 or 4 years ago when they last played. And I remember when we lost that game thinking, man, we're better than the Eagles. We should have beat them. But then I think we had more of a situation where we played down to teams. We felt really that we should have beaten. We didn't play them. And I've said this numerous times here on this show, is that I feel like the Steelers have had a history of that. And if you're a Steelers fan, you've seen it. But this season, I feel like somehow it just feels different. I don't know why, and maybe it's because we're still finding a way to win those games. But this season just doesn't feel like that season where people aren't taking it seriously, people are sleepwalking, things like that. This season really feels like the teams are coming in. We may start slow, and that's one thing that I don't like. Even in the Giants game, we were down, and then I think in the Broncos game, we were down, and in the Texans game, we were down. But I feel like getting down in the first half of the game doesn't bother me as much, because last season, when we would get down, we didn't have Ben. We lost Juju halfway through the season. We didn't have the weapons to come back and win. Like you said, you only can play with the guys you have there. We had Doug Hodges and we had Mason Rudolph, and now we have Ben. And the one thing that I like about this season so far, Ben has 7 touchdowns, 1 interception. And his numbers aren't jump out the screen good. but they're the numbers you need to win games. Like he's
from
not
a quarterback to win a game.
He's not turning the ball over. We've given up more fumbles than we have interceptions. It's like our mental errors in the beginning of games, they're fumbles, they're not our offense, they're not bad decision making by our quarterback. And based on all of those, I agree with what you're saying. I really do feel like this should be a win for the Steelers when all is said and done. So
it might not be easy, but I mean,
it might not be, and we may go down again in the first half. And if that's the case, if that's what we need to go down in the first half and then come back and end up winning the game, I am 100% fine with that. No problems on this side. So, what do you think the final score is going to be for this game?
I'm a hot ticket. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I think maybe we talk about both teams under 21 points. Because even though the offense itself, you guys' offense and defense is clicking on all cylinders, that token phrase. But the Eagles' defense is actually showing some semblance of life. So maybe the offense is hobbled and they're beat down. But as far as defensively, these guys have came to play. So I don't think on that side of the ball will be a walk in the park. I think they'll give you exactly what you bargained for in a rivalry. But I'm looking at something like a 17-13 scenario. I don't think that I see it being like the Steelers blowing anybody out. But I also don't see, because of the fact that there is a chance for the defense to show up and actually make a difference. I don't see you guys just walking down the field every time you have the ball. And, with the way that the Eagles do fly to the ball, they could possibly force some turnovers on your end. Like you said, if you guys have been fumble prone, I mean, they were able to get an interception. So who knows if they're, going to be able to get one off of Ben this week. So it'll just be a matter of them. So I'm thinking 17-13 would probably be the score.
And I agree. Like, I do see that you can never totally count a team out, because as soon as you totally count a team out, that's when you get hit in the face. So and the Steelers have not been putting up a lot of points this season. We scored 26 points the first two games, or we scored 28 the last game. And the thing is, too, we had the ball on the last drive. I think we had the ball at maybe inside the 10 and just nailed and ran out the clock. Like you said, I don't think Tomlin is that guy to trying to run up the score, because we're going to win the game. So I think the score will be a little bit different than what you said. I'm looking at, and I do agree that Eagles defense, they will come to play, and they're going to do everything they can, and you cannot, sleep on them or disregard them. So I'm looking at 17-21 Steelers, because I'm really thinking that if all we need to do, honestly, is to score 21 points, and I think we're going to beat most teams in this league, unless we play the Packers or a team like that where Aaron Rodgers is putting up ungodly numbers this season. That's when they get a little bit nervous. But we don't want shootouts. We want the possession by possession. We want to take as much time off the clock. That's how we want to play. We don't want to get behind and now we got to air it out. No, we rather control it nice and slow, 1 or 2 possessions at a time, and then wear you out that way. And I think that's why we're able to run out the clock on teams, towards the end of the game, because our running game isn't spectacular, but they're good enough to get the yards when we need the yards. So 21-17, I think, is the score. And I think it's going to be a good game, like you said. I don't see it being a game that's an easy game either way. It may be decided in the fourth quarter, and that's the kind of game that the Steelers have been playing all season long, and that's the game we want. That's how we know how to play.
That's preparation for the playoffs. If you're knowing that you've been here before, it creates a different comfort level. So if I'm down in the fourth, that's okay. We've been here before, and we've been able to pull it out. So I have confidence we can do it now.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining me today, Chris. It's really been fun just sitting talking about football with you. I know that you're not an Eagles fan at all, but you are a division fan. So I appreciate you taking a minute to just talk to me. We'll definitely talk again soon. I'll probably text you after I.
Yeah, that's cool. I might actually shave and comb my hair so that I don't look like like we had a nuclear strike and I was the last man left.
Hey, I don't mind. That's real. That's
good.
the real look. It's all good.
It's a brony, man.
Oh, man. All right, man. So I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you again soon.
All right, y'all.
All right, later. Well, that's all for today's episode. Thanks again to my guest, Chris Shaw, for joining me. And all of you, please tune in next week when we'll be talking about the Steelers and the Browns in their first divisional matchup of the season. Take care, everyone. Until next time.